General Hospital will reveal the week of May 26, 2025, in Port Charles promises to ignite with heartfelt moments, unexpected twists, and unforgettable reunions in the long-running drama General Hospital. As the doors of the hospital continue to open to both pain and hope, 3 major developments have been teased, stirring deep emotions among longtime fans. First is the emotional homecoming of Michael, who has endured a life-altering journey to return to his family. Then comes a heartfelt conversation between Ned and Brook Lynn, where misunderstandings and emotional distance may either be mended or shattered beyond repair. And finally, there's the pivotal moment when Kai and Trina bravely cross the threshold of friendship into something more profound. 3 stories, 3 emotional heartbeats, all preparing to paint a new, compelling chapter in the tangled, passionate world of Port Charles. The week of May 26, 2025, in Port Charles will mark a turning point in the Corinthos family's history. After months of silence and mystery surrounding his condition, Michael makes a jaw-dropping return at the nurses' ball, stepping onto the scene with a quiet intensity that speaks louder than any grand entrance. No one expected to see him, not this way. Not now, and certainly not as the man who would walk in without hesitation, find his son in the crowd, and simply take him home. For many, it was a moment of joy and disbelief. For others, especially Willow, it was the beginning of a new emotional storm. Willow stands frozen, unable to move or speak as Michael's figure cuts through the room. Her heart pounds in her chest. Not out of fear, but from the overwhelming wave of guilt, confusion, and loss that washes over her. Seeing Michael again, alive, healthy, composed, is a miracle in itself. But the way he avoids her gaze, the deliberate way he ignores her presence, strikes deeper than any words could. She watches helplessly as Wiley, unaware of the silent war between his parents, happily takes his father's hand. In that moment, Willow realizes she is no longer in control of this narrative. The simplicity of Michael's gesture is what makes it so haunting. He does not yell, does not make a scene, does not demand justice for the time he lost. He acts. And that act is powerful. Taking Wiley without so much as a glance toward Willow is a message. It says, "I'm back. I remember everything, and I no longer trust you." That message isn't just for her, it's for everyone who doubted him, everyone who tried to write him out of the picture, everyone who chose silence when they should have fought for him. Michael has returned with purpose, and it shows in every step. Whispers begin to spread throughout Port Charles within hours. The once assumed broken man has come back stronger than ever. His physical wounds may have healed in Germany, but the emotional scars appear to have forged a new kind of resolve. There are rumors that Michael plans to take Amelia next. If so, the question isn't whether he can win custody, it's whether he's willing to negotiate at all. Given how he walked away with Wiley, the answer seems obvious. He's not interested in compromise. He's interested in reclaiming what he believes was stolen. Carly is among the first to react, and her reaction is complicated. As a mother, she is thrilled. Her son is alive, resilient, back in her arms. But as someone who has watched the family's foundation crack in Michael's absence, she knows this return is not a peaceful one. Carly sees the look in her son's eyes and realizes he's no longer looking for validation. He's looking for accountability. Carly begins to question everyone's role in what happened, including her own. And for perhaps the first time in years, she fears that Michael is becoming someone even she may not recognize. Sonny, ever the protector, feels conflicted. His joy at seeing Michael alive is undeniable, but so is the tension. He senses that Michael's silence isn't temporary, it's intentional. Sonny watches the way Michael interacts with others, cold, measured, precise. There are no embraces, no tears, no relief. Michael has adopted a new armor, and it's impenetrable. Sonny begins to suspect that something happened during those long months abroad. Something that reshaped his son's worldview. And it scares him, because Sonny knows that a Corinthos who feels betrayed is capable of almost anything. Willow, meanwhile, spirals. Her mind races with memories, every visit she attempted, every message that went unanswered, every lie she was fed to keep her away from Michael while he was recovering. As truth begins to unravel, Drew's manipulation, Nina's betrayal, Willow is left with nothing but regret. She once thought she was doing the right thing. Now, all she sees are the consequences of her silence and her misplaced trust. Michael's return isn't a gift to her, it's a judgment. And in that judgment, she sees a future where she may no longer have a place. Elsewhere, Brook Lynn and Ned feel the ripples. If Michael is back, it means the power dynamics inside the Quartermain household are about to shift dramatically. Brook Lynn, already struggling with the emotional aftermath of recent revelations about Gio, now finds herself pulled into the vortex of another family drama. Ned, too, begins to reflect on his past decisions, what role he played in supporting or obstructing Michael's journey, and what his return means for the integrity of the Quartermain legacy. The family stands on shaky ground, and Michael's presence might be what brings long-buried tensions to the surface. Even outside the family, Port Charles braces for impact. The courtroom buzzes with speculation that Michael may reopen legal proceedings regarding custody, inheritance, and medical malpractice. Diane is rumored to be preparing motions. Drew, on the other hand, vanishes from public view, perhaps already sensing the impending backlash. The once respected figure now faces scrutiny not only from the community but from the man he helped exile. Michael's return isn't just personal, it's political, legal, and deeply strategic. He is not here to heal old wounds. He is here to draw new lines. As the week unfolds, it becomes increasingly clear that Michael's return was never about reunion, it was about reckoning. He has come back not to fit into the broken puzzle, but to throw the pieces off the board and demand a new game entirely. Every step he takes, every silence he maintains, becomes a statement. Port Charles will have to decide how to respond to a man reborn through pain and forged in betrayal. Because Michael Corinthos isn't just back. He's awake, calculating, and unwilling to be the victim ever again. And for those who wronged him, that should be the most terrifying truth of all. Certainly. As the sun rises over Port Charles during the week of May 26, 2025, emotional tides begin to swell beneath the surface of the town's most guarded hearts. In the midst of shifting loyalties and long-buried secrets, a quiet but powerful transformation unfolds between two characters whose journey has been defined by resilience, trust, and unspoken yearning. Trina Robinson, the passionate and intelligent art specialist, finds herself on the edge of something she never expected, a profound emotional connection with Kai Taylor. What began as cautious friendship during his recovery has slowly evolved into something neither can deny any longer. Kai, having survived a life-threatening surgery, has been vulnerable in ways that stripped away his defenses and allowed Trina to see the man beneath the pain. Through every step of his healing, it was Trina who remained by his side, not out of obligation, but from a growing devotion that surprised even her. As the week begins, the lingering touches, the subtle glances, and the charged silences between them finally reach a boiling point. No longer able to resist what has been building for weeks, they give in to intimacy, not just physically, but emotionally. It's a moment that redefines them both. For Trina, the experience is as terrifying as it is exhilarating. She's always been grounded, rational, careful with her heart. But in Kai, she has found someone who sees her not as a dutiful daughter or academic prodigy, but as a woman with her own agency and strength. Their connection is passionate, raw, and honest. It isn't about escape, it's about discovery. The trust they build in that shared vulnerability opens a new chapter for Trina, one in which she no longer hides behind her past or expectations, but steps boldly into what she wants. Yet in the world of Port Charles, happiness rarely exists without consequence. As Trina navigates this emotional awakening, Her mother Portia begins to sense something has changed. Though she masks her concern with polite curiosity, Portia's unease grows. She turns to Ava Jerome for counsel, hoping the savvy businesswoman and occasional confidant can offer insight. Ava, perceptive and always strategic, warns Portia not to jump to conclusions but also not to underestimate the emotional entanglements that often follow traumatic recovery. In Ava's world, passion is always laced with complication. Meanwhile, across town, Michael Corinthos is crafting plans of his own. Still reeling from the emotional wave of his return, Michael finds himself confronting old wounds and new possibilities. In a quiet but purposeful move, he approaches Sasha Gilmore Corbin with a deeply personal request, one that could change both their lives. Their shared history of pain, redemption, and misunderstood intentions makes this moment fraught with tension. Michael doesn't ask lightly, and Sasha, having fought her own demons, must weigh what this request means for her future. While Sasha contemplates the weight of Michael's words, Nina Reeves finds herself spiraling. Her carefully composed exterior begins to crack as she confides in Maxie Jones, revealing fears and regrets she's long tried to bury. Nina knows her relationship with Willow is fractured, perhaps beyond repair, and her connection with Michael teeters on the edge of collapse. But most of all, she fears losing Sonny. Desperate, she turns to him, pleading not just for help, but for understanding. Her plea isn't just about family, it's about clinging to relevance in a world that seems to be pushing her out. Sonny, however, has his own battles. Still processing Michael's cold return and the shifting dynamics in his fractured family, he is wary of Nina's timing. Her desperation feels less like maternal concern and more like self-preservation. Sonny listens, but his mind is elsewhere, on Michael, on Carly, and on the lingering sense that something darker looms behind the surface of Nina's panic. He promises nothing. Trust, once broken in Sonny's world, is not easily repaired. At the same time, Curtis Ashford begins noticing inconsistencies in the stories he's being told. His instinct, honed over years as a private investigator, tells him that not all is what it seems. From strange conversations to sudden shifts in people's behavior, Curtis begins pulling at the threads of a mystery he doesn't yet understand. And as he digs deeper, he begins to suspect that some of the people he once considered allies may be hiding far more than secrets. They may be orchestrating a cover-up. As all these individual dramas collide, the emotional fabric of Port Charles begins to fray. Relationships shift, trust is tested, and choices must be made. Trina, standing at the intersection of new love and old expectations, finds herself caught between the heart and the mind. Kai's presence in her life is no longer a passing moment, it is a turning point. But in a town like Port Charles, love is never just love. It's loyalty, risk, and consequence. By the end of the week, nothing remains untouched. The aftershocks of Michael's return, Nina's desperation, Sasha's decision, and Trina's emotional leap ripple across Port Charles with the force of inevitability. What began as a week of quiet revelations ends in uncertainty, and perhaps for some, heartbreak. But for others, those brave enough to face what's real, it might just be the beginning of something extraordinary. During the emotionally charged week in Port Charles, one of the most heartfelt and quietly devastating developments unfolds within the Quartermaine family, as Ned grapples with a truth that shakes his core. Learning that his daughter, Brook Lynn, had a child as a teenager, Giovanni Gio Palmieri, comes as a complete shock. The revelation blindsides him, not only because he had been kept in the dark for so many years, but also because it forces him to reckon with how distant he and Brook Lynn have become. For a man who prides himself on protecting his family, discovering that such a pivotal part of his daughter's life had been hidden from him is nothing short of heartbreaking. Ned's world, always carefully balanced between business decisions and family obligations, suddenly feels foreign. He replays every memory, every conversation, every time Brook Lynn seemed distant or guarded. wondering if he missed the signs. The realization that his daughter went through one of the most life-altering experiences alone, without her father's support, guidance, or even knowledge, cuts deep. More painful still is knowing that the rest of the family is just as stunned, and yet no one seems to carry the same weight of regret that now anchors Ned. He begins to question everything. Especially the role Lois may have played in Brook Lynn's decision to stay silent. Was it Lois who insisted on secrecy? Did she pressure their daughter into giving up the child? Into living with this lie for years? These questions plague Ned, not out of a desire to assign blame, but from a desperate need to understand. He cannot fathom why Brook Lynn didn't feel she could come to him. Did she think he wouldn't support her? Or worse, did she believe he would be ashamed of her? Conversations between Ned and Lois are inevitably tense. Though the initial revelation causes shock and sorrow, it soon leads to reflection. Ned finds himself sitting with his own mistakes as a father. He's reminded of the times he let his ambitions take priority, the arguments he had with Lois, and the countless moments he thought he had more time to fix things. But this isn't just about the past, it's about what kind of father he wants to be now, for Brook Lynn, and maybe even for Geo. When Ned finally speaks with Brook Lynn in the aftermath, the moment is charged with a mix of love, guilt, and unspoken longing. She doesn't approach him with the expectation of forgiveness or comfort, but Ned offers them anyway, not because he has all the answers, but because he wants to be the father she needed back then. In that moment, a fragile bridge begins to form between them, one built on pain, but also on the possibility of healing. It's a step towards something new, something honest, something real. Brook Lynn, for her part, is navigating her own storm of emotions. While she has grown used to wearing her independence like armor, the weight of the secret she carried all these years has left scars. Now that Joe's existence is public, she finds herself vacillating between relief and anger. Relief that she no longer has to live a lie. Anger that Lois, in her attempt to protect her, may have actually imprisoned her in shame and silence. Brook Lynn isn't ready to forgive her mother, and she lets her know that in no uncertain terms. The confrontation between Brook Lynn and Lois is raw and cutting. Brook Lynn accuses her mother of making a decision that wasn't hers to make. Of stripping her of the right to be a mother to her own child. For Lois, who truly believed she was doing the right thing, the accusations land like physical blows. But Brook Lynn no longer wants justification, she wants accountability. And in that moment, years of buried resentment erupt in a wave of grief and fury that neither woman can ignore. Even as Brook Lynn lashes out, Ned remains close by, witnessing the emotional wreckage and doing his best not to make the same mistake again. He listens more than he speaks. Aware now that silence can be more damaging than the wrong words. And while he cannot rewrite the past, he is determined to make the future different. He begins quietly reaching out to Geo, hoping to form a bond with his grandson, one not built on obligation or guilt, but on choice. The entire Quartermain household feels the ripple effects of these revelations. Some members offer support, others whisper judgment, and still others retreat into their own corners of silence. But Ned, for once, ignores the family's noise and focuses only on his daughter and her son. He may have been absent in Joe's earliest years, but he will not be absent moving forward. That is the vow he makes silently. To himself and to the boy who bears his legacy. By the end of the week, though wounds remain open, a new sense of clarity begins to emerge. Ned understands now that fatherhood is not just about presence, it's about participation, about listening, about staying when it's easier to walk away. And as he stands quietly in the hallway of the Quartermain mansion, watching Brook Lynn sit beside Geo with a newfound softness in her eyes, he knows he still has a place in this story. Maybe not as the hero, but as the man trying to be better.